Morning, Muta'Ali. How are you today? How's it going so far?
Hi. Good morning. I'm great, Bonnie. It's going great. How about you?
I'm great. Greetings from Toronto, Canada. We're going to be airing this on Smithsonian in Canada, so very excited to share this. Wow, what an ambitious, amazing documentary. I was riveted from beginning to end from this movie. It all started with Stuart Cosgrove's book. How did that come on your radar, and then decide to a film?
I got a call from Scotland. Someone called me named Mick McAvoy, and this was in 2020. And he was like, "Oh my goodness, I think you would be perfect. Please read this book. A documentary needs to be made about Muhammad Ali's transformation from
Yeah,
Cassius Clay to who we know him as today." And I said, okay, okay. And it was about a year of conversations. And I read Stewart's book, Cassius X, and I was really drawn to it because it opens up your eyes to what was affecting a young Cassius Clay's psyche during that time. It brings you into the moments, obviously it's civil rights era proper, and also it's a time where culturally things are shifting, even in music. And Stuart Cosgrove's book dives into all of that and gives you a general sense about how the world might have informed Cassius Clay and given him the opportunity to say, you know what, I might want to take control over how the world looks at me and how I look at myself. And it
yeah.
started sort of an inner sort of change within him, revolution.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. I just learned so much about his early years. So thank you for that, because it's a lot of stuff people just don't know. Of course, they concentrate a lot on his later years and all his fighting and his matches, and then of course what his sickness later in years. But I can't imagine where you started. You must have had a treasure trove of footage to go through. Like, where do you even start?
Well, luckily, we're bracketing the film between 1959 and 1964, and right now, if looking back, there is a treasure trove of footage of Muhammad Ali. But for those years, it wasn't so much because he didn't become heavyweight champion until 64.
Well,
But
of course,
before that,
yeah.
yeah. So before that, though, he was bubbling up and gaining a lot of attention, and he went from you know hardly any people in the audience to like selling out Madison Square Garden in '63,
Yeah,
and we show that it's in there through the visuals. So we were locked in. So
right.
within that though, we got to pull out some great moments of Muhammad Ali. So you get to understand who he was back then and how people regarded him and what he had to go through to become champion and actually step out there as Muhammad Ali.
Right. And things that he gave up, just because of his faith and his religion. And I was wondering, as you were going through this Mutalia, making this, how did it affect you on a personal level? Did it change you in any way working on this?
It affected me on a personal level. I think when there are moments in the story where people don't necessarily accept his change, they don't accept him becoming Muhammad Ali, and
Yeah.
Dee Dee Sharp, a person who was dating him, had to make a decision about whether or not she would take that relationship to another level, and you'll see that in the film. And it reminded me of certain little painful moments in my life when people didn't accept me because of my Muslim name and things that I believe in. And so I was like, oh wow, I didn't know that this giant of a man went through this. I knew he went through it in terms of people not liking his name, but it was his love life too. I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So the feelings like that came up. Feelings like that came up while doing the film.
Yeah. And you touched on it a little bit, but I was just wondering if there was anything else that once you started to learn a little bit more about his early career and everything he went through, anything surprise you?
Yeah, I think what I think surprised me was there was a big difference between his inner journey and his outer journey. And inside from, one of the interviews that is coming to mind is I got to speak with Ambassador Attila Shabazz, and she's Malcolm
Yeah.
X's eldest daughter.
Right.
And Malcolm X was like an older brother to Muhammad Ali. And Malcolm X mentored him while he was considering going through his transformation, and while he
Yeah.
was absorbing what it was, what being a Muslim is about back then when it came to being a Muslim in the Nation of Islam. And so I think that what surprised me was she let me know how much of a sponge he was as Cassius Clay. He was eager to learn so much
Wow.
about himself, about his culture, about his history, and just hungry to learn. And that might not align directly with, I guess, our how I looked at, the guy on TV who was just so charismatic and
Right.
making sure I'm the greatest. I'm gonna beat you in 4 rounds, like kind
Yeah.
of boasting. And so I was like, okay, there's so many layers to this man, and that was a surprise to me. And
Amazing.
I was
Just to
happy
wrap it
to
up,
realize that.
yeah, and just to wrap it up, I mean, like this is an honor, obviously, for it's going to air on Smithsonian for Black History Month, and it's going to debut in Scotland next year, and it's going to be on screens. What are you hoping audiences will take? What would be the most important takeaway for you, for audiences?
Well, I think they'll take away that, man, Muhammad Ali's got a deep life. When you just focus on just this part of it, it's phenomenal, let alone all of the other parts that we know about. So I hope though that they understand that he was a human being who
Yeah.
went through a transformation for a range of reasons, and I hope that they get an inkling of understanding, and that they might consider that, oh, I could understand. I might have been transformed too, if I were in his shoes. So that's what I'm hoping they get once the credits roll.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you so much for your time today. Like I said, this is just
Thank
such a
you.
fantastic doc, and best of luck with
Thank
everything.
you.
And thank you for your time
Thank
today. I
you.
really appreciate that. Thank you.
Have a great one. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.